Hey, welcome to the process. My name is Dr. John Bush. This is a quick, I know for me, a quick overview of this concept of expectations for running back distribution. We heard a lot of that Thursday night. Dennis and I discussed this on our Data Lab podcast and our Science of Fantasy Football podcast. This was some of the data I was talking about. The static images are available. I just thought I would give my view or my process of how I use this material here, just real quick. So we have the team, the position, which is running backs, the players. The average ADP, this was like 9.6, 2023. It's overall ADP. And then I converted that to ADP value. And this is what the public drafted and perceived as far as any kind of splits or any kind of points. And then I show the FFPC uses Fantasy Pros projections or something from Fantasy Pros. And if you convert that, you can get a percentage of projected points. And I'll just show you the type of RB it is. RB1, 2, 3, 4. And then any difference positive means the pros were higher than the public. Any negative was the opposite way. So expectations. Connor versus pros. 72, 74%-ish. So about right, but expectation, Connor's going to get a workload of activities from Arizona. Okay. Anything close to 70, high 60s is workload, workhorse kind of data here. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Cordell Patterson. The public says 55, 35, 9. The pros 57, 24, 20. So even though it's pretty extreme, if you look, it's probably not as extreme as you think. Algier, according to this, was overdrafted. Patterson, underdrafted by 10%. Dobbins, Edwards, Hill, Gordon from Baltimore. Public overdrafted Dobbins 7%. So your expectation of Dobbins was inflated, according to the pros, 7%. You'll see a lot of the third and fourth RBs are going to be positive because when we draft, we don't ever consider the concept that there are third, fourth, fifth RBs sitting out there. Go get something. So right away, pretty much all of us bias our drafting, and it's kind of like ignoring the elephant in the room. The pros don't do that. So this gives you a little bit wider-eyed perception of that. So just be aware when, Dobbins gets closer to 50% versus you drafted at 63, you're going to feel disappointed. Cook, Harris, Murray, 57, 41, 2. Pros says 54, 29, 17. Now everybody ignored Murray. Everybody did. So you're going to be disappointed when Murray even steps on the field to do anything. You're going to be like, why are they doing that? Harrison Cook is closer. Look at that. 57-41, folks. The public overdrafted Harris 12%. So there's going to be a sadness there when Harris is used less than you thought he was going to be used. Sanders, Hubbard, 60-40. Pros, pretty much they believe that. Herbert, Rashawn, Deontay Foreman. Notice this. This is close. 42, 35, 22. You shouldn't have drafted any of these expecting anything above 50% usage, folks. And you overdrafted Johnson, the rookie, and underdrafted Herbert and Foreman. So you could go back and your expectations for early in the season are going to be out of whack there. So if you see something funky, you might go back to this chart and try to get a little bit balanced view. So next year when you're drafting, I urge you to look at all the potential people that are going to be gnawing on the bone for RBs, okay? Because you're probably missing some. And you can go through the rest. Here's Mixon at 64. Pros agree, okay? But Chase Brown, 26. Pros 14. So we overdrafted him. We did not draft Tavon Williams 4 at all, so we kind of ignored him. So that's something. Chubb 64, Pros 70. So we may have been a little light on Chubb. So if you drafted Chubb, you may be pleasantly surprised, but we probably overdid Ford as a handcuff. Okay, minus 15. So we overdid him. So, early in the season trades, you can almost predict people's valuation. So they're going to value Ford more than they should be. Okay, so that would probably not be a trade situation. But Chubb, if the pros are right, is a little undervalued, and you might be able to swing a deal. So this allows you to get an insight here a little bit. And let me just talk a little bit about Detroit. People were cranking about Gibbs at Montgomery. Folks, if you drafted Gibbs, you probably didn't get both. So you probably thought this should be 80%. No, 53, 46. So by not looking at the whole picture, you overestimated. And the pros say both of you, whoever you drafted, either one or both, you overpaid. So just be aware. KC, look at this. Pacheco, McKinnon, Hilaire, 40, 36, 23. So regardless of what you did, you're not getting 50%. So if you thought Pacheco was going to get 50%, then you were ignoring the other ones. And actually, Pacheco, the pros like him at 46%. So might be a little undervalued. This may be an opportunity, but probably not a great opportunity, but there's something there. So you see right away expectation versus more closer to reality. I argue that projections are probably more real as far as expectations. Doesn't mean at the end of the season. It's 17 weeks. But it's just how we should think about things a little bit. If nothing else, next year, maybe I'll try to do this earlier. I'm not sure I quite did it in this format. You know, people say sleepers, but I like to look at everybody, not just cherry pick one or two, okay? So maybe I'll try to, if I remember, folks, that's February, March, April, May next year. But I want you to have this resource if you're going to do early season trading, or just temper your expectation about what people were thinking and not. And there may be some bargains there for trades and dynasty. Who knows? This is just redraft, so it's not dynasty. if you have access to good dynasty projections, then you could plug those in and get a percentage, and then, maybe do it for dynasty. I didn't do it for dynasty, but that might be an option for your trading as well. So 10 minutes of me talking. Hope you enjoy. Take a look at all this. It's probably not super critical, but it might give you a little edge early on. And just think about it when I said edge. Maybe daily fantasy sports. Maybe this is kind of telling you how the public might pick players. They'll over or under play some of the players based on their bias they developed in the draft. So I don't know. I don't play a lot of daily fantasy, $5 a week or something. Just crazy, just kind of a lottery ticket. So I'm not serious about that or Vegas betting. Okay, I prefer my investments to have 4 hooves at the racetrack. I lose my money there versus in the sports books. So anyway, maybe there's some daily fantasy goodness here. Love for somebody to say this could, help them out. Be great. I can maybe, think about this earlier in the season. Or maybe helped you for your seasonal Vegas bets as well. Don't know. You could certainly get a feel for how the public is going to want to bet. Okay, so this can temper reference class forecasting. This can kind of be in that concept there on, making expectations. Okay, hope you enjoyed this. The static images are up on the site, so go check that out, Science of Fantasy Football. We talked a little bit on the podcast, Data Lab and Science of Fantasy Football podcast. So check that out. Come back. We'll be cranking up for week 2 sooner than later.